Let's begin with a basic explanation of the class trial. So, your votes will determine the results. If you can figure out who done it, then only they will receive punishment. But if you pick the wrong one, then I'll punish everyone besides the blackened, and the one that deceived everyone else will graduate.
And the killer really is one of us, right?
Of course!
Okay then. Everyone, close your eyes. And whoever did it, raise your hand.
Hello, and welcome to episode 46 of the video game podcast PlayStation Pals. I'm your host, Nick, and I'm joined by the Zero to my Mega Man, John. Now, John, how good of a year is Sony having right now?
Oh, the best. I mean, from which angle, you know? I mean,
exactly.
When that question's usually asked, it's usually like, oh, well, they've released some really solid titles, and, you know, they have a good forecast on the future. But, like, you know, that stuff, we don't know the future, but I don't think anybody is doubting that there is going to be some real solid things. But just from Jim Ryan's chair, from his point of view, they're sitting pretty. They have a stranglehold at the top right now.
Yeah, they're shipping consoles like crazy. They had a victory in the whole Activision Blizzard purchase by Microsoft. They look to have a great summer with Final Fantasy 16. Yeah. And the fall, if Spider-Man 2 comes, and that's all we get, that's still... Woo.
Yeah. I mean, that's still a really, really good year for PlayStation. And then when you factor in a lot of the third-party releases and, you know, Breath of the Wild, it's 2023. I think is going to be looked back on very, very fondly. I think Diablo 4 is going to be a return to form for that franchise. I think Street Fighter 6 is going to impress people. So yeah, man, it's looking pretty good. I know you said the PS5s are selling like crazy. Did they just release some sales on or anything like that?
Oh, now you're going to put me on the spot. Yes, they have been touting. They have shipped more consoles this quarter than ever.
Than they ever have, or than anybody ever has?
Anyone has ever had. It was just close to 7 million.
Yeah, man, that people are hungry for games still more than ever. And, I mean, props to them. They put out a great console. I think... You know, despite some misses here and there, you know, their optics were a little shaky during the beginning of the PS5. You know, we believe in generations, things like that. But, you know, it's very obvious to me, at least, that it is the better platform, at least, to play on. You know, it's not really a better machine or anything than the Xbox, but right now, things are just churning a little bit better over there. I know they anticipated to sell 18 million, and I think they sold 19.1, and like... You know, that's a big deal for corporations when they exceed by by a non-significant amount, right? Like, you know, they go to their investors, they judge their stock prices and everything based on what they forecast. And so to not only meet what they were expecting, but to exceed it, you know, very healthy company. Sony's not going away anytime soon. I don't think anybody thought they would, but yeah.
Yeah, and I think just a lot of people are ready to move on. Like, we're seeing less and less cross-generational games.
Yep.
The reasons to buy a PlayStation are adding up. You know, Final Fantasy 16 will be a PlayStation 5 only game. And so people need to buy them, and they want to buy them. And so it's good that Sony's meeting demand and shipping as many as they are.
Yeah, I mean, and, you know, not to beat a dead horse or beat up on Microsoft, too, but it's like if you are somebody, as, you know, we saw with the almost 7 million people that just bought a PlayStation, if you're in the market right now to buy one of these machines and you take a look at one side of the aisle and then you take a look at the other, it's like, again, I don't try to be fanboys in these situations, but like, how can you not choose a PlayStation 5 right now? At least right now, until Microsoft can figure out what they got to figure out. But, yep.
Yeah, they do have Redfall, and it releases next week. We haven't heard anything about reviews yet, but, I mean, if they can get this is Arcane, and if they can release a Game of the Year contender here, which the studio can do, as you've seen before, at least Microsoft will have, you know, another reason to buy in.
Absolutely. And, you know, and yes, they have the ability to bring in some games that are going to get some headlines and probably review very well and things like that. But it's just, is that enough? Is it enough to say, hey, we got this one thing over here, this one game, and
Not currently.
Not currently. So it's just like,
I think, as you stated last week, a lot is riding on Starfield.
Yeah.
They need that to be the game of the year, basically. It
Yeah.
needs to be perfect.
Yeah, and it's
Besides
just
the return to form.
right. Absolutely, it does. And like, if you're somebody, it's just like the amount of markets just seems to be shrinking for people that would be interested in that on Xbox. It's like, why is Sony over here having all their first party games, releasing Horizon Burning Shores, arguably the most beautiful game that's ever made. It's running at 4K 60, and like over here they can't get Redfall or Starfield, a first person shooter. It's like, I just, they're in a different league. And yeah, I don't know. I probably shouldn't start the whole show just really berating poor Microsoft over there. But not a great, as good of a week and month and year as Sony's having, I would say it's equally bad for Phil Spencer and Microsoft over there.
Sure, as we'll get into a little bit later.
Yep.
But if you have not bought a PlayStation yet, Sony is offering a Final Fantasy 16 bundle of the PlayStation 5. So if you want to save a little money and buy in and get Final Fantasy 16, that will be out when Final Fantasy 16 launches on June 22nd. Did you see this, John?
I saw, I got a question about this actually. I saw that like the bundle was coming, but the box that I saw, it just had a standard PS5 on it. Is this like, are they throwing in a special controller or plates or anything, or is it just the console in the game?
Yeah, I think it's just the console in the game. I think it's the equivalent of that Ragnarok bundle.
That's a bummer. You missed opportunity. I don't know. You have this beautiful, these big canvases, right? The PlayStation 5 is fucking huge. Nobody's gonna argue that. You got these big white things. Give me a cool Final Fantasy. Like Final Fantasy is known for that awesome red and blue logo. That's like put one of those on the side. That'd be dope.
Yeah, they've been kind of silent about the plates. Like they sold that batch of them and a batch of different controller colors, but they've been kind of silent on that front as far as customizing the console itself after, they kind of shot down the competitors.
Yeah, I know this isn't the topic, so not to get too deep into it, but that is an area that, like, Sony, what are you doing? Like, between your controllers and your plates, like, why does it take so much time to release just a different color of something? Like, come on.
Right.
That has been figured out for years on Microsoft's side. It's just that one has always bugged me, but at the same time, my thing does the same thing whether it looks pretty or not.
Yeah, that's true. So if you want yours to play, if you want to buy in, get Final Fantasy 16. Again, that's coming in June.
Yeah.
They just
you want
announced
to get that
this
game.
week.
You want to get that game.
We'll see.
Yeah.
All right. So as usual, we have a jam-packed show for you. So we will get into how the show works. John and I both bring 3 things to talk about. It can be a video game we're playing, a news item, an email to PlayStationPalsPod@gmail.com, or a Twitter DM at PSPalsPod. I swear I'm going to try and be more active there. I tweeted out our platinums that we got that we will talk about for sure in this show.
Ooh.
So letting everyone know when we're getting platinums, what we're gaming on, kind of tease what we're going to be doing in the show. So if you want to be ahead of all that, follow us at PSPalsPod. And I know, John, you're bringing the first thing, but can I do the lead into this?
Yeah. Real quick, though. Nick, do you think we should put the top 50 that we eventually, have filled out into the Twitter? Like, put that kind of update that throughout the week, too? Okay. Yeah, we should do that as well. We'll
probably do it a week after the episode airs.
Yeah.
We'll start tweeting out our which we'll get into later, our favorite PlayStation Pals favorite games.
But yes, Nick, I know you're ready to just, I don't know if you're ready to grill me or what's going to happen, but you can definitely give me the lead in on this one.
So as discussed last week, John was going to be at home this week, and I wanted to get a heads up on the show. You're probably asking yourself right now, where's that Persona 5 bonus episode that you were going to do? Where's that at? It didn't release. And then, I also wanted to start working on our top 50 games of all time. So what we're going to do here is we're going to put John on trial. John is going on trial for whether he is neglecting the show, neglecting the listeners for Neon White. a game that he has been playing a lot of. He is going to confess his sins and how much he's been playing it, and we're going to find out right here and right now. John.
Can I plead guilty?
Oh, you got to go under trial first, but if you want to plead guilty, sure.
All right.
So John thought this was going to be a topic about all his Neon White Platinum, but nope. This is called PlayStation Pals vs. John.
I see why you wouldn't let me swap this out for anything else.
No.
Okay. All right.
So, I am the prosecutor. I am representing PlayStation Pals, our listeners' beloved podcast, and John will be representing himself.
I feel like this is a episode of Danganronpa.
Yes, it is.
Trial!
So, I'm going to start out with my opening argument.
Okay, all right.
And that was Monday morning. I texted John. Okay, sorry. Okay. I texted John. Monday morning, 2 things. Let me know when you want to record our bonus episode. Figure out games 50 to 41. I get nothing from John. And then in the afternoon, this is what I get from him. The colored neons, piece of cake, white, oh man. Got to 72 of 96. It's definitely doable, but a trial for sure. I was like, how long did that take? He's like, 85 minutes. Question number 1, John. Uh-huh. How many runs did it take for you to beat the Neon White Heaven or Hell Rush?
Well, so it's the Hell Rush. The Heaven Rush is very easy. The Heaven Rush you have... So for listeners out there, this was the last trophy I needed for the Platinum, right? This is... the hardest part of the game. You have to beat the entire game from level 1 to level 96 without losing a single life, which is not easy to do. And so to answer your question, Nick, I would say I probably did 20 attempts at it. Probably.
20 attempts, huh?
And not every single one of those, I...
Looks like we had some witness tampering there, trying to tamper with my witness. So where were we, John? You said it took you 20 runs.
Yes. Took me about 20 runs, I would say. Now, that doesn't mean that, that's 20 times 85, right?
I was doing the math, actually, for that.
Yeah, well, I can tell you how many hours I have in this game now, which is... I was a little shocked at how many I truly have, but we'll get to that. I don't want to, make my case poorly for myself, but... yeah, it probably took me about 20, and, a lot of that was kind of just... One of the mechanics of the Hell Run is it converts your Katana card into a Miracle card, which you can use 3 times during the run. And when you use it, it does 2 things. It restores your hearts, so you have 3 hearts that you can get hit with. Now, your hearts don't regenerate every level, so you could be stuck at 1 heart for a couple levels, and it's pretty nerve-wracking. So burning a katana will restore that, as well as give you a card of your choice to get you out of a situation that you may have screwed up, right? And oftentimes that's a rocket launcher because you miss a jump and then you just need to shoot a building. Mm-hmm. So you have 3 of those for an entire run. And so a lot of times, I would burn 2 of those and I'd be like, I'm only on level 13. I'm restarting this. This one is it's not going to work. I don't want to get to level 85 and lose, right? That's the most heartbreaking thing. And so, I eventually got so good at it, right? I know this game probably more intimately at this point than any other game, which is kind of shocking to say. From taking a game that, I remember going through the levels for the first time and being really overwhelmed, not sure what paths were the quick ones, where the shortcuts were, to the point where I know every single turn, I know every single enemy location. I can do this game like the back of my hand now. So I was probably getting through, like when I finally beat it, it was probably 50 to 55 minutes. But that being said, I think I stopped my main playthrough of Neon White around 40 hours. And that's only because I restarted it a couple times, and my son kind of messes around with it a little bit when he wants to. So, but now I currently have 81 hours clocked in it.
I see.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a lot of time.
It is, and it's I don't want to disparage the prosecution or anything, but it was It was an undertaking, man, and I feel like it's a little. I feel like I should be more applauded than anything for this, right?
Really, really.
Yeah. I think it was a true testament of my gaming skills.
Yeah.
And commitment.
Are you gonna apologize to Ryuji and Morgana and Lady An that you were unable to discuss their adventures in Japan because you were busy frolicking around with White and Violet and just having a grand old time?
Hey,
because
they're your friends. I don't know what you want to do with them. You calm them down.
So again, John not responding to my text. The next night, Tuesday night, I say, choose a time when we are recording the podcast right now. And his response was, suppose tomorrow is as good a day as any. But look at that laissez-faire attitude to providing content to our listeners. Just it's like he's on a drug. He's probably
hold on. No, finish your thoughts. Sorry, I'm just being annoying.
It's just like Neon White is like a drug to you, man. Like it's just like a heroin. Like you just couldn't get enough. Like you probably had all the time in the world, but you're like, well, I could record this podcast, or I could do more Neon White, because that day came and nothing happened. No recording.
So here's this. Yep. So here's the thing. Something that has to be known, and I'm sure every listener out there knows it at this point. When I'm at home, Nick, I'm not like you at home. I'm not like other people we know at home. I'm watching 2 18-month-old little babies, right? And so, obviously, during the day, it's hard to get away. Neon White was a good little thing because I could be like, oh, I got 30 seconds, right? Oh, they're over in the corner. I can do a level real quick, whatever. Mm-hmm. But when you watch kids that intensely, it converts your free time into the absolute most precious thing that there absolutely is. And so it wasn't so much a purposeful neglection of the show as it was a appealing to my most basic needs, I guess. Because if I don't, you know me, Nick, right? You can tell when I come to work and you're like, you haven't played video games in a while, have you? And I go, no, leave me alone. Or, if I get a day off, are you there?
Yeah, I'm there.
Okay, cool. Sorry. We just want to make sure we have no technical difficulties again. But, the day where I come back and I have a game, I'm a much different person. So I think I owed it to myself, to the fans, right, to you, so that I can be my best self on a show with these games being played. Because you're right, dude. It was a sickness. It was... I can truly say that I've never got wrapped up in a game so intensely, and I don't know when it happened, and I don't know why it happened, but it was kind of this perfect storm. And I started to think about it. I did do a lot of my thinking in the shower, like I think a lot of us do, and I was like, what is it? Why is this literally consuming every waking thought I have right now, where I'm like, Levi, I can't play. I have to beat Neon White. No, girls, like, whatever. I got to do this. And I think I figured it out. It's because I had 100% confidence in my abilities to do it. I've beaten every single one of those levels before. I've done it perfectly before. So the thought of like, well, I just have to string it together, I was like, I can do this. But as I did it, and I guess I underestimated either myself or the game. It's just there was so many moments that I just lost focus for a split second, and it was my doom. I'm like, oh my God, like, okay, let me restart. Because like, I was 17 minutes in. 17 minutes isn't a big commitment. At that point, I'm probably halfway through. No, not halfway through. Probably at like level 35 to 40. Like, I can restart and try again. I got it next time, and then I got it next time, and then I got it next time. And then at this point, it's consuming all my thoughts where I'm like, no, I got to go do it. And so it was the confidence I could do it. It was also, I think, of course, the doubt from you that like, you're not going to do that. You can't do that, Platinum. I was like, yeah, fucking watch me.
Sure, blame me.
Yep. Well, when I'm challenged, it brings out an inner beast in me. And then just the natural platinum addiction, as well as just the gameplay being as good as it was. Like, those things all combined into each other. It created this unholy alliance of, I don't know, but it got to the point where my fingers and my hands were physically exhausted, where my eyes were hurting. I went and actually, I smoke. I've said that on the show. That's the only time I ever use eye drops. This was like the first time in forever that I think I was like, I need eye drops. My eyes are burning. I'm happy to report though that I did it. You know, the white wasn't even the last trophy I had to get. Then I had to go back in and do Mikey's playthrough, which is beating the entire game again without dying, but with a different little twist on it.
John, in the end, was it worth it? Was it worth all this time?
So it's funny. I have, on my bullet points, I have, do I regret it? ? Yeah, I'm not sure. I don't know. I because the feeling that I had when I beat them was never joy. It was relief. And I don't know if that's the right feeling to have. It was like, thank God I don't have to do it anymore. And, that's not why we play video games, or at least that's not why I do. But, like I said last week, though, it is a 5 out of 5 PlayStation Pals reviewed game. I absolutely love it. It only gained for me, obviously, as I played through it. And it was very, very interesting to play it in this way. And I will, I don't know if you ever have plans to go back to Neon White. I would highly encourage you to do it at some point when you lose. Just to get to you never got to the last level. That's the coolest part of the game.
Sure.
But it's just wild to me that I probably took 20 hours to get through that game. And now I can just do it in an hour. And I know, I just know everything. It's wild. Right. I don't know. It's so good, though. And I'm so happy I don't have to play it anymore.
Well, I will admit, you did admit guilt, and you did sound remorseful. So I think I will let the listeners decide. But
sure. Yeah, my fate's in your hands. But I will just say, if you're not a parent, talk to a parent before you pass judgment. Because... if I didn't have kids, Nick, it would have been a whole different other story. If I had 5 days to myself just to sit around and with thumb up my ass, man, we would have gotten so much done. I would have gotten so many games played. We probably would have had to do a whole another bonus episode because I would have had Elden Ring and Resident Evil 4 done. Yeah. But alas, as neglectful as I can be to some things, I try not to be neglectful to my children and my mental health when needed. But here we are in 2023. Everybody's mental health sucks, so whatever.
Well, I am proud of you. That is, again, this is not an easy platinum by any means. I believe PSN Profiles lists it as an 8 out of 10. Yeah. So it was quite the undertaking.
It was something.
Does this usurp your favorite platinum?
I think so. That's not, if Cuphead was the answer to that, it's a very different type of difficulty because Cuphead was just a high degree of difficulty for a long period of time. Neon White was much more this massive spike at the end. Mm-hmm. But the amount of, like I said, the perseverance, the physical exhaustion from the hands and shit, it's just never done anything like that. So yeah, I think it probably is. Okay. Probably is.
Yeah, that is very impressive. And had my game not imploded, I maybe have been in the same boat because I know what you meant. I was very addicted to Neon White,
dude. And I'm telling you, it's just when you look at your if you're a platinum hunter, which we are, and you look at your trophies and you see 42 of 45, and those are the only things holding you back. You're not going to stop. You can't stop. Especially when you had that confidence that I had. But yeah, I'm curious at this point after knowing it so well. Will there be a Neon White 2? I don't know. I feel like you could probably do that pretty easily, or some DLC. Or I don't know, or maybe I could see this guy who made it though, Ben Esposito. He also did Donut County, just being one of those eccentric dudes that's just I got another idea that's something completely different. I'm just gonna do that now, and we never go back to Neon White. But I wonder if we'll see some similar type gameplay systems come out in the future because it truly is unique. And for all you listeners out there that have stuck with us for Neon White for as much as we've discussed on the show, and you have no interest in fast, lightning JRPG visual novel platformers, I love you, and you should play it though. Yes, it's amazing.
Yes. All right, so let's move on from that into some news, and some shocking news at that. Earlier this week, we learned that in the UK, the Competition and Markets Authority denied the purchase of Microsoft's of Activision Blizzard by Microsoft. They flat out said no to it. And you would think it's got to be because of Call of Duty and because they would start, having a stranglehold on the market. They would have a lot of players playing their games as they already do with Minecraft and everything else. But no, they did it because of cloud gaming.
Yeah.
And it was Microsoft's weird strangle on cloud gaming, and I'm sure this is putting a big question mark above your head. That was the reasoning why they were against this. That it's the antitrust.
Yeah.
And the funny thing about that is because Microsoft has xCloud, and I dare you to name a competitor in the cloud gaming space right now.
Right.
There really isn't one. Google Stadia collapsed.
No.
Amazon's Luna gone. I mean, probably limping along. There really isn't a competitor in this space. So when Microsoft gets Call of Duty, they will just have a monopoly in the cloud gaming space. They'll be able to offer all these games. And the crazy thing, too, is how we saw the lead up to this is like, oh, Microsoft is signing a 10-year deal with Nintendo and NVIDIA and all these other platforms. What wasn't discussed about that is that though Microsoft is putting these games on their platform, they get all the profits. I don't know if you saw this, John.
I did, and I put that down as well. Good catch, Nick. Good catch.
So
yes.
that was the big stickler here, is that normally when you put your game on a storefront, like if a game puts their like Jedi Survivors on the PlayStation Store and you buy it from the PlayStation Store, Sony and PlayStation get a cut of that sale. In Microsoft's
30%.
Yep. In Microsoft's deal, that does not occur. So if you were playing on Switch or NVIDIA and you were using the cloud gaming service, Microsoft would get all of the profit, including any microtransactions you bought into. So if you're, want to buy some gun skins in Call of Duty Warzone, Nintendo gets zero of that cut. NVIDIA gets zero of that cut. And so, when they saw this, that there was a big reason to say, nope, not going to happen. So,
did you do any of the math on that by any chance? How much like that money that would be?
No.
Okay, cool. I did. So, Call of Duty roughly made about $30 billion in the last 20 years, right? So we can just start with that lump sum. So that turns out to be about $1.5 billion a year. So 30% of a billion is $450 million. 450 million times 10 is $4.5 billion. And that's just rounding down to if it's $1 billion of profit a year. So undercutting it probably a little bit. So yeah, it's pretty natural for a company to be like, that's a lot. I don't like that. So it really, and it's kind of what I've thought for a while. And, if it's not exclusive to Microsoft, large organizations just are this way. But, it just really felt like Microsoft was being this wolf in sheep's clothing this entire time, where they're like, look how beneficial this is for everybody. 150 million more people that get to play Call of Duty. Isn't that wonderful for gamers? And if parity is there. But what I worry about is, the idea that their games just continue to suffer. If Redfall is running at 30 frames per second, if Starfield is going to be running at 30 frames per second, would you rather have a product that's the highest quality possible, or would you rather that these games just come to the service and they're there, but don't worry about it, it's just a Game Pass game? Because I've seen that type of thought process behind Redfall, where people are like, it's 30 frames per second, but it's just a Game Pass game, whatever, you don't have to buy it. And it's just like, yeah, but what if it wasn't? Could it have been something special? And I don't know. It's a lot to process. But the idea that this is not going through anymore is wild.
Yeah. And I was watching just not even just gamers' reaction, because I didn't really care what they responded to it, because they were going to draw their lines regardless. But I was watching a lot of pundits, the MSNBCs, the Bloomberg News, and they're strongly convinced now that this deal is not going to happen, that this was a big enough blow, because while Microsoft can appeal this decision, it could take over a year for that. And if you don't remember, they announced this deal on January 18th of 2022. It has been a very long time, and Microsoft is on the hook for about $3 billion if this deal doesn't go through to pay to Activision Blizzard.
About that.
And that deadline is coming, and I don't think that they'll be able to get this done in time. And this looks And
Wow.
again, this is me just regurgitating what the pundits were saying, but they said like, yeah, this doesn't look good. This kind of is going to reverberate through all of big tech. Like it seems like a lot of these countries are against big tech buying more companies and just becoming bigger and bigger and bigger. And it looks like Microsoft is going to be the first L when it comes to this stuff. So, I mean, everything still has to play out or not, but it was interesting to hear everyone say like this is probably the nail in the coffin for this deal to go through.
Yeah, I mean, I don't pretend to be an economist or anything, but I've kind of said from the beginning here that this deal isn't being brought into question because of so much the one company having control over specific IP. It's the fact that Microsoft is a company of such proportions and scale that they affect global economies. They affect country economies. Like, so if they start to, if the governments of these different countries, UK in this example, but maybe the US feels the same way, start to feel that like the cloud infrastructure, right, is so important to the future of just, the technological space and country infrastructure and things like that. We cannot allow one company to simply get such a head start because it's going to inhibit innovation. It's going to inhibit other companies coming in, becoming major players, leading to, maybe again, more innovation that might not be there otherwise, where if Microsoft's just like, yeah, we're fucking, the titans of the block, nobody can touch us, why would we feel the need to either innovate more or, just charge whatever the fuck we want to because we have the, everybody's balls in a vice, right? Like I saw, and this is kind of, I don't know if it's the same thing or not, but I saw YouTube TV just got the deal for NFL Sunday Ticket. Do you know how much they're charging, Nick, a year for that? And it's going up next year. They're charging $350 a year for that. And next year they've emailed everybody saying it's going to move up to $450 a year. If you want to watch out of market games, like let's say you're a Detroit Lions fan and you live in Nashville, Tennessee. If you want to watch the Detroit Lions play, that's what you're paying. And I think and I hope that governments are taking these type of practices into consideration when they're making these judgments, because while it might be good short term, if we allow these companies to do these kind of moves and really just get ahead of it and not, and put everybody else under their heels, it's going to be bad for the future. And, I hope that that's kind of what their logic and thinking is. It might be good for the health of Call of Duty. It might be good for, I don't know, Activision as a whole. But does it impact things outside of gaming? Just things outside of I don't know, just us wanting to play Call of Duty every year on a specific platform. And,
Sure.
and I think the answer to that, obviously, we've learned it does. And it would be really weird now for the FTC to come and be like, yeah, we don't agree with the CMA. We think it's fine. So I kind of agree with you, man. I would be surprised at this point to see this deal reverse back around and get approved in the future. It costs a lot of money to employ those lawyers for that long of time. And I don't know.
Yep.
It's not $3 billion, but, we'll see.
It's pretty crazy. Like, because even leading up to this, everyone thought it was a sure deal, especially when they were all like, oh, yeah, the Call of Duty thing's fine. Like, they're like, what? That seemed to be the biggest roadblock, right? Is this giant money-making franchise that makes the competitor PlayStation in the console market just tons of money. That you're just going to cut off that revenue stream if you get Call of Duty. And then they're like, it doesn't matter. And then this announcement comes up and consoles aren't even a thing. Like, it's not even a part of this. Like, it's all cloud gaming. So it is pretty wild stuff. Again, it is not over by any means. So don't... Whether side you fall on, don't think like, oh, we won or oh, we lost. It's still an ongoing thing, and lawyers are going to fight like hell to get this through. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah. One quick question for you, Nick. Can Sony buy Square Enix now? Is that possible?
Yeah, that'll be the question. Obviously, Square Enix is not Activision Blizzard by any means, because again, Activision Blizzard is a lot of things. It's we went over them. It's a mobile publisher. It's all kinds of different markets and things, not just the Blizzard games that we all know in Call of Duty. It's like that encompasses a lot of things. But Square Enix is nothing to sneeze at either. So I don't know.
Well, Well, that's what's interesting though, is like what the objection was with this is like, I don't think there'd be any world where they object, like the CMA and the FTC object to Sony buying Square Enix. It's what the optics would be, I think, more than anything. Of just like, do we really want to just kind of seem like the corporate overlords that say, haha, we want our cake and eat it too? But because it would be a very hard thing to explain to mass population. And granted, they might not fucking care because they have the most gamers on the planet, or at least with the console space, to explain to people like, no, it's not the same thing, I promise, or whatever the case. But yeah, I don't know. That's just something that popped in my head. But yeah, I don't know. It's wild stuff, man. Wild stuff.
Yeah, we could definitely revisit that too when we find out what happens here.
I hope not for a while. I'm getting tired of it.
No, it's been a while already, and I'm for sure it's going to be a while even more before we know what happens. But
for sure.
But yeah, interesting stuff. So let's move on. Exciting topic next, John. What are we doing next?
All right, as we have discussed, we wanted to, bring something a little bit special as we're heading into our 50th episode. I don't know if Nick or I, what we really envisioned this show was going to be when we started, how far we would get. We just wanted to do something fun. And, to celebrate episode 50, we thought we would try to put our heads together, make some compromises, kill some of our favorite darlings, and put together the PlayStation Pals top 50 games. And so we wanted, to on episode 50, make sure we're hitting the number one game, but we didn't want to overload everybody, so we figured 10 game segments would probably be best. So thought today we would start with that. And we're going to be counting down game number 50 to game number 41 of the PlayStation Pals top 50 games of all time.
Mm-hmm. And on a side note, John, do you know when our episode 50 hits? It'll be May 26th.
Oh, God.
What are the odds that Sony does their showcase for our 50th episode? Would that be cool?
That would be amazing. Yeah, that would be absolutely amazing. Yeah, and I think that's pretty likely. I mean, yeah. At the very least, it's going to probably be like the week or two before. I think May is kind of the agreed upon time. You would think late May is probably more likely than early May, because you want to make sure you're in that news cycle of the E3 time. So, man, yeah, I will be, that's going to be a great week if true, man, with I Think You Should Leave, and oh man, that'll be a great week.
Yeah, so we might have to adjust our schedule based on this showcase. If anything, we'll just do 20 in an episode or something like that, because this rumored Sony showcase should, in theory, be a whole episode show, because it'll be that much stuff to talk about. So understatement of the year. Yeah, so I just saw that and I was like, what are the odds that happens? It would be pretty interesting. So yeah. Well, I would love to. I know we've talked about it too, Nick, and obviously we'd have to discuss a lot more, but it would be super fun too to be on video for something like that, to like live record or live comment. But that's something we have to discuss. No, absolutely no promises, but that'd be cool. We're working towards it. Sure. We'll see. Sure. All right. So we'll start off with number 50, and that game is Mortal Kombat 2 from NetherRealm. This released on Super Nintendo and Sega Genesis. It was, I think John and I were both the right age for this game. The violence was always the thing, right? Like, it was always the game we shouldn't be playing, and when you're a young kid, pre-internet times, of course. This is as good as it gets. This is a franchise that's around now. Like, we expect Mortal Kombat 12 later this year. It just took the cartoony aspect of Street Fighter and put a good fighting game into the most violent and ridiculous. And fatality is a word we all know. It's a cultural word, and it came from this game. Just incredible game. Incredible franchise. I don't think there was anything cooler, and in
my youth than when you figured out, maybe not figured out, but when you saw a fatality, when the screen, the guy's wobbling, right? So finish him, and he's just wobbling, and you try and do, and then the screen kind of goes black a little bit. You hit it. Oh, such a good feeling.
Yep.
But did you play the Super Nintendo or the Sega Genesis version?
Genesis.
Perfect. Yep, that's the one with the blood. It does feel funny though at this day and age where I'm raising children and I want to play Grand Theft Auto. It's like absolutely not. And it's like our parents kind of had the same not the same vibe like when we were kids with Mortal Kombat, but like when you compare there's some pixelated red on the screen compared to what you can do in Grand Theft Auto nowadays.
Right.
It's kind of funny how far we've come, but it'll never not be satisfying uppercutting somebody onto some spikes.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
No. Amazing. That's why they always bring it back.
Yep. All right. Number 49. This is more of a me game. Obviously, as we go through this list, there are going to be games that, I probably haven't played that Nick loves and Nick hasn't played that I loved. And I think you've played this game, but obviously you never beat it or anything. But it's steeped in maybe the most amount of nostalgia for me. It is Spyro the Dragon from Insomniac Games, PlayStation 1 classic. For me, this game... Again, I think it was, as a lot of these I think will be, just came at the perfect time. I think I was 9 or 10 when this game came out, and it just captured everything I wanted to do in video games. It was kind of a semi-open world, not open world, but open level where you're exploring, you're really getting a lot of different things and just seeing numbers increase, right? Like every single level had the amount of gems you had to collect, and every single one of those were pretty well designed, and it was just a pure joy to go and get all that stuff. And unlocking the dragons and things like that. And it had a soundtrack that absolutely slapped. I think it was by one of the guys from The Police. I think he was the guy who did the music to it. So, it kind of just brings back that warm, fuzzy feeling in my belly. One of my favorite games from my childhood, probably alongside Crash Bandicoot 3 for the PlayStation 1. But Spyro the Dragon will always have a special place in my heart. So I was obviously real happy when they remade those a couple years ago, and I got to check those out and hoping that my son eventually wants to play through those with me at some point. But did you ever played this game, Nick?
I may have touched it for a few seconds, but no, I have no recollection of this franchise at all.
Yeah, it's your absolute pure 3D mascot platformer. You get your little abilities. You can glide, you can charge, you can fire breathe, all that good stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it was a mascot for a while. It was up there.
Yeah, I would love to see him come back, but I don't know that he's in Activision world now.
Yeah. All right, so moving on to number 48. This franchise doesn't really need to be explained. It is Grand Theft Auto 5, the game that's still chugging along to this day since 2013. Boy, it's incredible how the staying power of this game in particular and this franchise. I remember my Xbox 360 broke about a month before it came out, and I had to replace it immediately just so I could play this game. And
did you get red ringed?
I did get red ringed, but that's not what happened. I think it just died. It just completely died, like no reason. I did red ring it, but that was way before this game came out. It's enjoyed incredible success. It's one of the best-selling games of all time. I loved it so much. I've played through it more than once. I played through it when it re-released on modern consoles, and yeah, it's just, it's the biggest franchise out there. It has the biggest budget, and what Rockstar chooses to do with that is incredible. Like open world perfection, a simulation like no other. It's just incredible. It's no wonder why it's so popular.
Yeah, makes perfect sense. I mean, we've all had a special time with GTA. I think at some point, for whatever reason, I think we've said this on the show. Whenever we talk about Rockstar, I feel like something's broken within me, where there's just, I don't know why I don't like the way the games feel, but there is no denying the powerful IP that is Grand Theft Auto and the amount of detail and work that team has put into that series. So I know GTA 6 is going to break the internet. It's going to break everybody. It's going to be honestly quite annoying for me when that game comes out. But it'll still be really exciting because I'm sure it's gonna be something special.
Yeah, for sure. It'll be a big moment.
Yeah. Don't you like how we're talking about our favorite top 50 games? And I'm like, yeah, I don't really like this one.
No, I mean, again, that is going to happen. That'll happen more than once, even when we get closer to the end.
Yeah, but this is a game that we both like. In fact, this is a game that I think we need to figure out a way to play this together, Nick, because we seem to both think we can beat each other. But that game is Super Smash Brothers, and not the one for Switch, but this is the OG, the Super Smash Brothers for Nintendo 64. It's probably my favorite fighting game ever. I have a lot of different friends that we, just paired up with each other and played so many matches and learned each other's skill sets so intimately that every single battle was fucking tooth and nail to the death. And you would pull off some really special moves. Everybody had their main character, and that was always, always felt like a special character to you. But I eventually got, just played it so much with my one friend, Tony. He was always Fox and I was always Captain Falcon, and we were probably 50-50, and so I started to try to experiment a little bit, work with Pikachu a little bit and Ness to the point where I got really good with them as well, but he wouldn't let me play with them because he didn't know my skills with them as well, and it just got frustrating. So kept going back to Captain Falcon, but really special game for me, a lot of fond memories with some couch co-op.
An incredible game, an incredible decision by Nintendo. It seems so out of their wheelhouse to make a game where all of their franchisable characters are fighting each other. And what came of it is such an amazing product. Probably one of their, outside of Mario Kart, one of their biggest franchises. I still, to this day, remember the intro to this game because I've seen it so many times. That ends in the big Super Smash Brothers. I remember that so vividly because we just played so much of it, and the franchise continues to just celebrate everything Nintendo. That's probably the greatest thing it does is it celebrates current Nintendo and past Nintendo.
Greatest crossover series that ever has or probably will exist.
Yep. Yeah. Just something else. So moving on to our number 46 game, we're gonna go to the Federal Bureau. God, I can't say anything today. Federal Bureau of Control, and that is in the video game Control. And this comes from Remedy, the makers of Max Payne and Alan Wake. This was a great surprise. I can't even put into words how happy I was to take control of Jesse and go into one of the most unique and weird worlds that this was. And the abilities you got, how good it felt to shoot the guns in this, it was just incredible. Control is easily one of my most recommended games that I think a lot of people skipped over. John, what are your thoughts on this? I love this game.
Yeah, I got to move Control 2 up to a higher list in my most anticipated games. I keep forgetting that that's being made, but I agree, man. This was a surprise hit for me, for you. It was. When I saw the first trailer for it, I thought, okay, this has a good vibe. I've always liked that weird David Lynch style, you don't know what the fuck's going on kind of stuff. And it nailed that tone very well. It threw in, like you said, some amazing feeling combat. It did third-person shooting incredibly well. The ability to float and not fly, but you can kind of float for long periods of time, pull just concrete off of the side of the wall and chuck it at somebody, and you can't talk about Control without mentioning the ashtray maze, which is just one of the coolest levels in games that I've played in a long time. And yeah, it was a great experience all around. I think Remedy did a amazing job with this game. I think it was reported it only had a $20 million budget as well, which is very, very low for a video game. So making a lot with a little bit. And one of the other things that I just want to mention about this game that made it a little special is oftentimes in games when you have to collect notes and books and things. I don't bother. But I was genuinely excited when I would find one in this, because you're going to get some weird fucking story about the old house, or some other crazy thing that's happening in this universe. And
the objects of power and all the other weird things. It's very X-Files-y. I think that helps into it, like the mystery, the what was the weird show that was in it, like with the puppets?
It had that that was live action, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not gonna be able to pull the name, but yeah, Remedy does that a lot. I know Quantum Break was kind of the same way. They had these like interstitial live action things.
Yep, Alan Wake too had a live action show that you could see on the TVs. So
did
it's
it?
It's just part of their thing, but especially
calling card.
Yeah, especially in this, it just adds to the whole vibe of the game that makes it something really special. And again, there is a PS5 version of this game. Like, if you're listening and you haven't played it yet, please check it out. It's awesome.
Yeah,
it's so good.
There's always such a sad feeling sometimes with getting a platinum, and this was one. Like, this is a game I would like to go back and play, but I just can't prioritize it because I got that dang platinum. It's my blessing and a curse all at the fucking same time.
Yeah, I did get DLC, but it was never. It's not nowhere near as good as like the main game. So
no, and the TV show is called Threshold Kids.
Oh yes, there it is.
Yeah, Threshold Kids. Yes. All right. So number 45. This is going back a little ways in time, but I'm sure Nick has a ton of nostalgia for this game, and I know he's played it a little bit more than I have. I've played it a fair amount, but that game is Mega Man X from Capcom, and it's just one of those perfectly tight control games, and I think something that a lot of people like to kind of just learn the levels and systems inside out. And Nick, I'll kind of let you take it over from here.
Yeah, I mean, the Mega Man franchise has always been a great franchise. Just the game design of beating a boss and then getting to use their abilities against other bosses, and then having this kind of experimentation of a rock, paper, scissors is like, oh, I beat Frost Penguin, and now I can fight this guy and this guy and this guy, and keep going back and forth. And it's just a great staple of the Mega Man franchise as a whole. But
here's my question, though.
Sure.
How do you know which one you have to go to? Or do you just have to look that up?
I mean, you experiment at first.
Okay.
Like, if you don't have a guide.
The good old school way of just try again.
Yeah, you just kind of try out each boss, and then when you finally beat one, then you can start playing around with that ability and trying to find out who that works on, and so on and so forth. But yeah, Mega Man X was just good because with the addition of tight controls, where all the abilities you could I don't have a better word for it, but he just humps the wall, so it looks like he's climbing, but he's humping it. And you have like the slide dash, you have the charge attack, a lot of the cool abilities. There was hidden armor throughout some of the stages, so if you knew where it was, like by the end of the game, Mega Man looked just pretty badass. And then this also introduced Zero, who's just a cool side character that was just another badass that used a laser sword.
Sure.
And this franchise would continue on for, I think, all the way to X8, but quality diminished as it went on.
Yeah, I wonder if Capcom ever will go back to that, because I mean, I don't know if you saw, but the Battle Network collection, which I'd never even really heard of until recently, just passed 1 million copies sold, which is like, dang, dude, like that's pretty wild. I think Mega Man 11 is the most selling Mega Man game of all time, and that's at like 1.5 mil. So it's just like there's still a deep love for this series. So I wonder if they'll. I would love to see Capcom have like this smaller division that kind of just fosters their either older IPs or smaller titles, and just kind of like gives them a new release every couple of years. You don't have to give us this crazy new experience with these type of games, but just give us different levels, different bosses, and people will be happy.
Yeah. No, I think people are clamoring for this. There was that Kickstarter of that one game that bombed really bad. I'm forgetting the name of it now that I brought it up. But it was the same guy who did Mega Man, Inafune.
Mighty Number 9?
Mighty Number 9, yes. That got kickstarted and then just was a horrible game. So
yeah, I've never heard of a single positive word about that game.
Yeah, but I'm sure there's some indie equivalents out there. But just the franchise that's near and dear to my heart.
Oh, there's a ton of it. Yeah,
I beat this game so many times. I can't even count. So
Nice.
All right, move on.
Cool. I believe you're next, aren't you, bud?
Oh, I am next. Sorry. We're talking about my game. I thought I had brought it, but we're on to number 44, and we're going to continue with Capcom, and that is Devil May Cry 3. Kind of the undisputed, I would think, best game in the franchise. This came to PS2 all the way back in 2005, and I don't know. What is your thoughts on the Virgil character, Dante's brother?
Oh, I think they're badasses. I mean, it's campy as shit, all it is, but that's Capcom's, kind of thing, right? Resident Evil's campy, Devil May Cry is campy. You kind of sign up for that when you get it, but yeah, I think both Dante and Virgil are pretty awesome characters. They're extremely likable. They have a very, you can tell there's a lot of history between those characters with each other, and they're just they're sexy guys too, man. I mean, they're good looking dudes. So but Virgil specifically, I mean, I don't know if I have any strong feelings about him specifically, but I think their dynamic with each other is pretty strong.
Yeah, I don't know why I was always obsessed with him when I was younger. Like he was just too cool. Yeah.
Sexy Virgil.
A trench coat with walking around with a samurai sword, and just that.
I don't know why I did it absentmindedly. I just typed "sexy Virgil" into Google. Some good pictures.
Yeah, I mean these characters are very well liked. This is a very liked franchise, so. And they always bring Virgil back. It's like every special edition you get to play as him. So
yeah, no, three was. You're right though. 3 was kind of, I think, the game that maybe started making me realize that, like, oh fuck, I love these like action, platinum game style games. When you're switching between your guns and your badass sword, and then all of a sudden you get a guitar and you're like, what's this thing? And you're like, oh, I can play a guitar, and it. I believe, if I remember correctly, you shoot like bats at people with it or something like that. Some great, but they're not afraid to just go as weird and crazy and wild as they can, because they're playing with demons and hells and gods and angels, and and I think in Devil May Cry 5 too, it's like, you rip a motorcycle in half and use the two halves as weapons. So this was like the one that again, I think hit the right time for us, and yeah, man, Devil May Cry 3, I remember specifically playing I don't know why, the first mission a ton. It might have been like a early time of my platinum style gameplay where I was like, I have to get an S ranking on this. I have to get an S ranking on this mission. And enjoyed every minute of it. Yeah,
and how many games have you surfing on a missile? I mean, I can't think of very many.
No, I feel like you probably do it in Bayonetta, but if Bayonetta is just a ripoff of Devil May Cry, so there you go.
That's true.
Yeah. All right. So we're going to follow that up with another third game in a very, very respected trilogy. It was hard for me, Nick, to figure out which one of the series I thought is mine, but at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter, because like Lord of the Rings, when I talk about Lord of the Rings, I kind of talk about all three at the same time. Same with this series. That's Tony Hawk's Pro Skater, specifically Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3, again from Neversoft. But what's to say about this series? It's video gaming at its purest form. It's a combination of a sports game that has a universal appeal, but with an arcadey touch to it, where you're just racking up scores, doing absurd things, using the grinds wherever you fucking can, wall riding wherever you fucking can, and it nailed the gameplay loop of unlock new level, go do the things, get the high score, get the tape, get the tricks, get the gaps you need, and it was just something so fun about doing that all in this tight little 2-minute span, where it's like, okay, just do it again, just do it again, just do it again, just do it again. And then when you combine all of that with like one of the greatest soundtracks in video game history,
that's what I was gonna bring up.
You have a very, very high recipe for success. I think Tony Hawk's 2 and 3 got like 98s on OpenCritic or Metacritic or something like that. But special series, special franchise from the youth. Not really what it was, but we might see a return to form.
If I just randomly played Ace of Spades by Motorhead, you would instantly think of this franchise.
Yeah, dude. Or I mean, Superman is just like, I don't know. Yeah, there's not a single person in the world that hears that song and doesn't think Tony Hawk.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible. Like that was an amazing franchise. Like
it was.
Like it was up there. It was like one of the top tier franchises at the time. I can't even imagine like if it'll ever come back.
Yeah, I would bet like between Tony Hawk and Gran Turismo 3 probably were competing for the most amount of time like of a game that I would play. For a game that you just do 2-minute runs, God, I would love to know the number of 2-minute runs I did.
Back then, when time was infinite times.
I know, man. I know, the glory days.
All right, so our number 42 game is Cuphead.
Yeah,
John's.
That's a me game.
Yeah, I have nothing to say, so my lips will be sealed.
Sure. Even if you do not like video games, even if you do not, are not good with a controller in your hands, this is a game that just oozes charm, and you look at it immediately, you're like, this is something really special. The hand-drawn animations are very, I think 1930s animation style is what they're referencing, and it's gorgeous. It's honestly probably the most visually impressive animated game out there, and it features amazing controls, amazing combat. It's a boss rush game, so you have to be willing, or you have to be into that kind of thing. But it's just another game that I found the more I put into it, the more it put into me. Like it's similar to Neon White, where it's just like you get to a boss and you start that fight for the first time, and it's throwing all of its different attacks at you, and you have no idea what to do. You just think to yourself like, I'm never gonna beat this. This is impossible. And then you spend some more time with it, and then you spend some more time with it, and then eventually you realize, oh, I figured out the formula to this. And once you figure out the formula, then it's just simply down to you executing. It's very, very rewarding. And it's turning into this cool bonding experience with my son as well. Like that kid has latched on to that game, which is just ridiculous. Like, dude, pick a different game, but whatever it is, Cuphead really grabbed him, and it's converted really not so much from the game anymore that he likes, but he loves the show. He fucking loves the show. He just turns it on every day, and it's not half bad. Like I'm not mad watching it. So Cuphead is very, very special. I hope to see more of it, but it is, I think it took the team like a good 3 to 5 years just to get the DLC out. So if they're going to stick with Cuphead, or, I would imagine the studio is definitely going to stay with the same animation style. You don't have that level of talent not to flaunt it, even if it is hard work. It's one of those perfect games, perfect controlling games. And yeah, I love it. But I hope I never have to play it again. At least that, until I get Cuphead 2, because it's hard as shit.
Yeah. It is pretty surreal, just the animation alone.
It's crazy, dude. When you sit there and you think that every frame of this game was hand-drawn by somebody, and like you don't even move, and everything on screen is like bouncing and like animating itself and doing something with every part of its body, and it's just like, God damn, dude, you guys are impressive.
Yeah, it seems impossible.
It does. It truly does. Yeah, and like how do you take that drawing and then put it into a computer and then program something so that your character reacts to the thing? Like video games are magic, man. Like they're magic.
Yeah, that's why we love them so much.
It is.
It
is. All right.
The range of experiences you get, can't compete. And close us out, John.
All right, number 41. It's Breath of the Wild. Some people might be shocked, maybe think it should be a little bit higher. This is IGN's number 1 game of all time. But it's a great game. It's fantastic. It does something with physics that no game has ever done before. It's causing, reverberations around the industry to this day with the way that it approached the open world design. Elden Ring took obviously a crazy amount of influence from that. But at the end of the day, I don't think it's the second coming of Christ. And, there's still some problems with it. I think, a lot of the 120 different dungeons kind of gets a little tiring towards the end. Weapons breaking can be annoying, but there is no denying how impressive this game is, how good the systems in place are. I mean, Nintendo, they really are a special team. You know, when they want to be, they're the most creative team out there, I think, hands down. But you know, at the end of the day, there are a couple Zeldas I like more. But I don't think there's denying that this is easily one of the greatest games ever made. I had a really, really fun time playing it. Tears of the Kingdom I cannot wait for, so you know, excited to jump back into Hyrule. But this is another game that, you know, our boy Nick, you know, he's never played, so I'm trying to you know, I'm forcing my Switch upon him. You're like, here, take it, play the game. But you know, he's got to go kill some things with lightsabers later. So maybe one day. But yeah, man, Breath of the Wild. It's I don't think anybody doesn't at least like the game when they play it.
Yeah. So yeah, just to reiterate, this is our top 50 game. So when I have not played the game, it does not help for sure. So unless John feels absolutely strong about the game, as we'll get into future games on the list, it's very hard to convince the other one that, hell yeah, this is a great game. I mean, just in the season, and this 10 we just listed, Spyro, Cuphead, and Breath of the Wild are solely me, and Mega Man X is solely you. And GTA and Mega Man X, those are both you. So yeah, you know, yeah, like you said, it'll get mixed in here and there, but as we get to like towards the top 10, I think, you know, we'll have a lot of games that we both you know, love. So to reiterate our list: number 50, Mortal Kombat 2. Number 49, Spyro the Dragon. Number 48, Grand Theft Auto 5. Number 47, Super Smash Brothers. Number 46, Control. 45, Mega Man X. 44, Devil May Cry 3. 43, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3. 42, Cuphead. And 41, The Legend of Zelda: Breath of the Wild. Some pretty good games.
That was fun. I'm excited to go through the rest.
Yeah. So stay tuned next week, and we'll keep on going.
Yeah.
All right. So moving on. Boy, we got...
I know, dude. This is a long one.
I knew the top 50 games list was going to add some time, but here we are. We'll keep trucking along for you listeners. So our next topic is a pair of trailers that launched this week. The first one came out of nowhere on April 27th. We got a pretty lengthy trailer for Armored Core 6 Fires of Rubicon. This is coming from Software. They make some game. I don't know.
They've got
it was pretty important last year. I don't know.
They might have created a genre.
Yeah. They just won Game of the Year last year with Elden Ring. So they brought a trailer for this. They brought a release date. It is coming August 25th of this year. Shockingly, like another game in just a year's time. And yeah, John, what did you think of this footage that we got to see of the game?
I think it looks fucking awesome. Really, really good. And I have absolutely no history with Armored Core 6, but you know, I was watching the trailer again today, and like, I think I mentioned to you on Thursday when I was at work that like it reminds me of Nier Automata in some weird way. And like I watched it again, I was like, yes, like it really does. Like it's this weird combination of mechs, obviously from Soulsborne, Ness, whatever you want to call that. And I think visually it looks a lot like Nier Automata. You know, the landscapes and the environments, like this kind of industrial, you know, looking landscape with high action flying combat. You know, really, really quick movements and things like that. You know, and it, even like maybe from the story point, you know, the trailer starts off and it's like, you know, this kind of robotic voice talking about like this, you know, numbered, I don't know if it's a person or a mech or whatever, but like kind of a numbered thing that has to go down and do a job. And it reminded me very much of Nier Automata, where you're a robot in space that gets sent down to Earth to go do a job. And it's like, you know, if there's some story to be told behind all this as well, I don't know how you could possibly make a mech shooting game have any type of impactful story, but you know, I might be proven wrong, but I think it looks great, man. I quickly am excited for this game now. I wasn't really at all, and you know, when it was first revealed, but now I am.
Yeah, Yeah.
And honestly, and what I'm most curious about is people's reception of this game when they get it, because how popular Elden Ring was. There's going to be a ton of people going into it and be like, oh, it's the next thing from FromSoft. What's this? And like, I don't know.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's like I had total amnesia about this franchise, and then watching this trailer, I was like, oh my God, I've played this series before. I remember pairing the different robot legs and being concerned with my mech's weight and the heat, and if it could support this giant weapon, this giant railgun on my arm and all that stuff. And you see that here, like in all the different shots. There are all kinds of different mechs. There's fast moving ones. There's like quadruped ones. There's one with tank treads running around. And as you said, like this franchise has kind of been dormant, but From Software is so popular right now that I wonder how everyone will adjust to this different type of game of customization and numbers, and then third-person mech combat. It's hard to say how people will feel, but yeah, I feel the same thing. It looks incredible. The environments look great. The mechs and the fights look great. They didn't touch on any kind of multiplayer, but I would highly think that there would be some kind of multiplayer, even if it was maybe similar to the vein of From Software's previous titles, where you could maybe somehow put down a beacon, and then all of a sudden, John, you can join my game, and then we fight the mech together, and then I think leave.
That's exactly what we're getting.
Yeah, you think a lot of those From Software asymmetrical multiplayer is going to be there?
Yeah, I think FromSoft is, they're going to be careful not to make this just be another. It's not going to be another Souls game. I don't think there's any question that that's going to happen. But I think they are going to absolutely stick to what they know with certain game decisions. And there was a moment in the trailer too where it looked like this other mech kind of got called down. It's like, I'm here to support you. And like, I was like, that's totally what it could be. Like you said, a beacon, somebody gets summoned down, helps you out. But yeah, Armored Core 5 came out in 2012. So it's been 11 years. Since then, we've gotten Dark Souls 2, Dark Souls 3, Sekiro, Bloodborne, Elden Ring. And so it's I'm just mostly interested to see what From Software looks like outside of the Soul series that I've only ever played with them. And I'm excited for you to hopefully, assuming the game reviews well and we're interested when it comes out, to get your hands on one of those, because when it comes to making builds and things like that, dude, like I'm, after hearing you explain what this game kind of is, it's like, oh yeah, dude, like that's the community. If they dig it, is going to run wild with the amount of different builds and ways you can customize these mechs to attack different things. So I'm probably bought in. If it reviews well, I might pick it up day one. I don't know. I mean, FromSoft is just the best in the biz, so we'll see. But either way, here's just another check mark on 2023 being fucking awesome.
Yeah, and
one of the best
I believe
years.
this is our second flag that's planted for this fall, outside of Starfield, which will be releasing a few weeks later. These are the only two games we know about, really, so it'll be interesting what else will be releasing in this window. We have the rumored Spider-Man also releasing in September. So
everybody's like, oh fuck, we got From Software, Spider-Man 2, and a Bethesda game in this window. Yeah, that's the heavy hitters, man. And that's kind of like the world we like with all these just consolidations and everything. It's just like everything now is either a first-party title or like a badass third-party publisher or developer. And yeah, crazy.
Yeah,
crazy,
I'm glad to get excited for the second half of this year. Like we said, it was a big unknown. We had no Armored Core 6 was just announced last December, so it's like I don't know. This is great. This as long as it doesn't get delayed, this is like the right amount of lead time to a project like this, and this year just keeps getting better and better. I can't even wait till after Summer Games Fest what this fall, the rest of this year is going to look like. I think it's going to look pretty dope.
Yeah.
And this just adds to that.
Yeah. These companies have been raring to go since COVID, man. Like this is the time it's all happening.
Yep, exactly. All right. And then the other trailer we got, also kind of out of nowhere, it got teased also on April 27th that we were going to get a trailer the next day, and that is for the Twisted Metal TV show. I cannot believe I'm saying this, but yes, there is a Twisted Metal show. It is coming July 27th to Peacock. It is going to have 10 episodes. What we got was a very short teaser. John, what were your thoughts on the teaser that you saw?
Sweet Tooth should get the Emmy right now. He's calling it right. He's gonna get the best acting Emmy. But I don't know.
Do you know who's voicing Sweet Tooth?
Yeah, Will Arnett.
Okay.
Yeah, big Will Arnett fan. Well, I liked him in Arrested Development. Everything else is okay. But I'm interested. I'm definitely want to watch this show. I was getting some major it was kind of a hard thing to put my finger on, but it felt almost like high production camp where it's like it's gonna have this 90s feeling vibe where it's like high octane energy, like maybe like a Power Rangers feeling type of thing, but it could be just a pure fun show. If it's not trying to do anything crazy, if it's a monster of the week type show where John Doe is facing off against one of the characters, Axel or Warthog or any of the guys from the game, then it could just be a fun little time. But I will say, I'm worried about a couple things. First and foremost, that it's coming from Peacock. I mean, I don't really know what Peacock's track record is with shows, but I know it's not great because I can't name any. And I worry that some of the cues and things they will take from popular franchises are going to carry into this. And I bet you can probably guess which franchise, Nick, I'm thinking of specifically when I say that. What franchise out there has lots of cars, lots of explosions, and is uber popular?
Fast and Furious. Yeah. I wanted to go Mad Max, but I knew you weren't thinking that.
Oh God, I wish. I mean, and it might, and this is just a concern I hope is not there. And being that I think the writers from Deadpool are attached, it hopefully won't be, but please don't be Fast and the Furious style humor, where it's there was that part in Fast 9 where he's driving a big fucking truck or something. He's like, oh, are you compensating for something? And it's just come on, man, that's the lowest hanging fruit.
Well, when a guy is strapped to two tires and he drives around like that, you might be more forgivable for the cheesy jokes and.
Well, and cheesy jokes are fine, but just that compensating for something, it's just it's the lowest hanging fruit. Right. I could have written that joke, right. And that kind of stuff. And worry number two is just and this is just a me thing, Nick, I like darker things. I like more serious tone. So it's I hope it's just not too lighthearted. And I get a little bit of good vibes with the end of this trailer, because when it flashed to Sweet Tooth's truck, the back of that thing looked gnarly. True. There's bloodied up machetes and gross tools and things like that. So my hope is that it's not and I know this is, hopefully it doesn't offend you, Nick. I hope it's not MCUized and it's more. It's a little more serious in tone, but I don't know. Being that Anthony Mackie's attached, that's kind of what he does. I'm not the biggest fan of his, but
it's interesting because the beginning of the trailer starts with Anthony Mackie getting in the car, and I forget what the song is, but it's very lighthearted song.
I know. I think worry number 2 is going to come to fruition. I think worry number 1 won't.
And then then it has the cut to Sweet Tooth, and then you're like, oh wow, well, what is the tone here? And we really didn't get much. I can't even tell you. A lot of people seem to think that it does take place in the 90s. That obviously shit has gone wrong. The world is destroyed. Is this because of the typical Twisted Metal plot where Calypso will give the winner anything they want, so everyone's fighting all over the world to come out on top in the Twisted Metal tournament, and that's why the world is destroyed.
What a promise! What a promise!
It's hard to say. I mean, my only concern is that you're talking about a video game series that is on primarily car combat, and will Peacock give this show the budget to do car combat right? And I don't think they will.
No, I think they're going to try to rely heavier on characters and dialogue with maybe a short action thing, in between. Because if you introduce these characters, if you introduce Axel, you need to be able to talk to the guy a little bit, right? You can't just immediately be it's Axel, kill him. So I don't know. I would bet it's going to be a lot of fast cuts, a lot of quick edits. Mm-hmm. But if maybe Sony, so this is a Sony property too. Maybe they're ponying up some of the cash. Maybe Peacock signed it and be like, yeah, we'll do it, like, 70-30 split on the funds that go into it or something. Who knows? But yeah, I think it's going to be a very B-tier product, and I think you can kind of already see that. Like, no disrespect to Anthony Mackie or Stephanie Beatriz, of Brooklyn 999 or Encanto, but those kind of are B-tier leads, right? Like, they're not the big boys. Like, they're good. And Peacock is kind of a B-tier streaming service, and Twisted Metal is kind of a B-tier franchise. So, I think just keep your expectations in check. Like I was saying, try to approach it through a lens of, hey, this will be a fun time, and I think we can all enjoy it and not just like, this is ridiculous. Why is Sony spending time doing this? That's not the point. So, but either way, I'm sure it'll be fun. It'll be fun to watch.
And I have one last question on the subject. Do you think this show will accompany a video game announcement from Sony? Do we expect a Twisted Metal video game to be coming either alongside this show or announced at the Sony showcase to, again, the brand will be hot again. At least it'll be talked about, whether the show's good or not. Are we getting will we have a video game announcement from one of Sony's studios about this?
Yeah, I kind of think, I almost want to say it's a lock, honestly. Like, I think Sony's initiative right now is cross-synergy. I think The Last of Us really, really put that into focus and really, really succeeded for them. They're like, hey, we're not only going to make this show, we're going to remake the first game that we've already sold. And guess what happened, Nick? Last of Us 2 sales went through the roof. Like, they saw the data they needed, so they say, well, fuck. Like, if we can release this other thing, maybe this franchise that's not dying, but it's been dead. It's been dead for a while now, but something that can be revitalized. Like, what better chance to have with, like, okay, show at the same time, create this cross synergy, and yeah, you might see some improvement. The thing I don't know though would be what team would make it. Or if they would just, maybe throw some money at a second party partnership. Like, I think there was even rumors that Lucid Games, the makers of Destruction All-Stars, were working on one, and it got pulled from them, and went with another team. I can't remember who, but, so it could be something like that. But I would say it's almost a surefire thing that, yes, within a year of this game coming out, if not sooner, we will see the release of a Twisted Metal game, coming back.
Okay. Yeah.
It's probably one of the live service games that they were talking about too, now that I think about it. I don't know, maybe.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think it is one of them. It just makes too much sense. All right.
Yeah.
Let's move on.
All right. We'll make this one quick because it's really it's a tried and true topic and it's a boring list. So, but we got our PlayStation Essentials games for the month. Again, as everybody knows, this is the lowest form of PlayStation Plus. So if you're just an active subscriber, play $60 a year just to play online, you're going to get these games. And as always, make sure you add them to your list because even if you don't want to play them now, they don't take up any hard drive space. They're just available for you to get later. So first up, we have Grid Legends coming to PS5 and PS4. It's a racing game. I'm going to be honest with you, Nick. I didn't even do too much research into this one because, like, I don't know. It's just another racing game that's probably not going to do anything different than Gran Turismo or Forza or any other games like that are out there. But looking at some screenshots, it says it provides incredible race variety and an immersive narrative that puts you at the heart of the action. Take the spotlight in an engrossing racing story brought to life by a world-class cast, including Nakuti Gatwa and groundbreaking extended reality production. So, it's going to be your run-of-the-mill racing game. Next up, and this one is probably going to, I would imagine, be the best game of the bunch and at least going to have some people find enjoyment in it, and that's Chivalry 2, which is a 2021 multiplayer hack-and-slash game developed by Torn Banner Studios. Nick, do you have any familiarity with this game at all? I know this is one that a lot of people, when it came out, were like, holy crap, this is a ton of fun. I didn't think I was going to like it. It's this one-on-one medieval-style first-person combat game, multiplayer focus. I know it's not really for us, but, like, did you kind of follow this game at all when it got released or anything like that?
So it's not one-on-one. It's not one.
It's like 64
player, and you can have a third-person camera. I actually watched this on Twitch after seeing it in this list, and Yeah, it's just a giant battle, and people are swinging at each other. There's, realistic physics and weapons and parrying and brutal death animations. But I have no interest in this. This is not even close to my wheelhouse.
No, definitely I don't think it's for either of us, but like it is a game. IGN gave it a 9. It's sitting at an 82 on OpenCritic. So like if you are somebody who, enjoys hand-to-hand combat and some multiplayer, it might be worth checking out. And then lastly, Nick, now this one, special game near and dear to my heart, or rather my son's heart. Everybody can now enjoy and join in on that platinum. That's Descenders, coming to PS4. Procedurally generated downhill biking game. It's got some roguelike mechanics to it, but I'm here to tell you there's better uses of your time. It's janky. Yeah. My son yesterday realized that I had 81 hours in Neon White, so then he's like, "Oh, can I go see what other hours you have in games?" Because it shows it on the page of the game now. Descenders, I have 227 hours. So yes, I know this game all too well. I really can honestly not recommend it for any specific reason, unless if you have a child that is into, I don't know, scoring and time things. But it's not great. It's not great. It's not
I thought
great.
This was your favorite
don't play
Platinum.
No, don't play this game, Nick. I did this game for my son. I did it for my son. It's probably the jankiest game I've ever played. There's so many times, Dad, it's glitching. I'm like, I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what to fucking tell you.
I don't know what to tell you, bud.
Why is it? Yeah. Dad, why is it doing this? Because the developers suck. I don't know. Yeah. Which he doesn't understand. So, but those are your games, folks. Add them to your list. Might want to play them later. And till next time.
All right. So moving on, we made it to our final topic, finally. All right, we are going to be talking about the Super Mario Brothers movie. I think we can keep it spoiler free, right? You don't?
I think you could summarize the plot on a single sentence. So yeah. It's okay.
This is kind of the big movie. It came out on April 5th to a $204 million opening weekend. I was one of those people that saw it opening weekend. John has just recently seen it, and we're going to give our thoughts on the film overall. Sure. And this movie is just going bonkers, of course. I mean, it's almost at $1 billion in revenue. It is kind of wild, and I thought this in the theater as well to see and hear, and all the little cues and nods to Nintendo that I can't believe this is happening. Like this is on seeing, the Avengers moment, in the MCU of like, I cannot believe like this passion of mine when I was playing NES, 30 years ago. That
you see that, Mom? It wasn't a waste of time.
Yeah, that it would be made into this incredible visual feast for the eyes project, like unbelievable. Just the movie overall,
Yeah. No, if I were to score this on the PlayStation Pal scale as a movie, I'd probably give it like a 2 out of 5. However, as entertainment, it's much more like a 3 or 4. It's not a good narrative at all. It's the very surface level. There's not a lot going on. Yeah, it's horrible is probably the right word for it. But this movie was not made to. Seriously, it wasn't made to please a 39-year-old and a 35-year-old. It was made because I went and saw this with my son. He gave it a 5 out of 5. He fucking loved it, dude. Like he thought it was the coolest thing. We watched it in 3D, so it was like the first time him doing that. But so I think as entertainment, there was definitely some smiling moments. When this isn't a spoiler because it's in the trailer, but like when Rainbow Road happened and like Mario did his dumb little shortcut that we've all done, I think, on Rainbow Road. I was like, it brought a smile to my face. But no, it's not a movie I really want to ever see again. I think the story is so paper thin that it honestly makes me question if there is because like I thought it was a surefire thing that Nintendo is going to try and do this movie universe thing, right? And then eventually come together and have a Super Smash Brothers type movie. And that could still be the case. And I think it's still, in fact, probably the case. But this movie was so paper thin. I don't know how you could possibly take anything from this and wrap it into anything else except for a Donkey Kong movie. And it's just tied because he's in this one.
Yeah.
But, you know, I don't know. Jack Black was great. He's always great. Jack Black is a fucking treasure. That
the
man,
best part of the whole movie is Bowser in general.
Easily.
Just from the beginning of the movie, and then all his scenes. It's just great. He's by far, he's got to keep coming back. For sure. He will. And, you know, I wouldn't be surprised if we get a Bowser movie. Like, that could be what they do first, is give, like, a little side movies to these guys. But, you know, I think he was really, the only one who did anything special. You know, as much flack as Chris Pratt got for, you know, getting cast as Mario, I think you could say the same thing about every other main character. You know, Seth Rogen was just Seth Rogen, which is fine. That's what he does. Charlie Day wasn't anything special. Anya Taylor-Joy wasn't anything special. And Chris Pratt was fine. So, like... serviceable.
You know... Yeah, it was all serviceable, but you know, it was a good. I was happy to pay my ticket of admission as a father with a son who I'm trying to get into, like, Mario games and whatnot, because like you know, we were talking after the movie. It's like, you know, I was trying to explain to him all these different nods and things to, like, you know, what I remember playing of Super Mario 3 or World or any of those games, or even just hearing the music and things like that. You know, there is a special sauce to Mario, you know, obviously for a reason. And I can't say I laughed much, though. I might have only laughed at the dog. That dog might have been the only thing that really made me smile. I don't know.
Yeah, well, that's, like, I hate the qualifier that this is what everyone I've talked to about the movie has said, is like, it's a kids movie, it's not for you. But I don't. A kids movie can be made for everybody. We know that's possible. We've seen it in other movies. So I don't like that. Like that, I don't think that gives it a break because it's an animated movie and its intended audience is kids. It can still be really funny. It can still have what was the theme really? You know, like, what was the overall message the movie was even given? I don't even know.
Peach is hot. I don't know.
yeah, everyone wants Peach apparently. And so it could have been so much better. And it is really weird that they kind of did follow the plot of the old Mario Brothers movie. The one with, Bob Hoskins and Dennis Hopper is, very, very similar of, you know, that they existed in the real world and then they came to the Mushroom Kingdom.
Yeah, we might. I mean, you know, it definitely seemed like it could have been written by a team of high school drama majors. But, you know, I mean, that's always how Mario's been. You know, every single one of his games there's no story to it, so it's hard to write for. But I do agree with you, Nick. Yes, it could have been so much better. It could have had a lot better way to you know, have humor that pleases kids and adults. You know, you hear that compliment a lot with movies of this type, where it's like, it's like, I think the Puss in Boots movie was this way, the one that just came out. I haven't seen it yet, but it's supposed to be really good. It's like, there's jokes hidden all throughout that just go over kids' heads that adults get. And, like, if you can nail that, it's great. But yeah, you know, I get what you're saying with, like, the qualifiers, but, like, that's, you know, it's just the streaming world we live in, I think, nowadays. It's not that this is streaming, but it's just like all people have kind of started to become conditioned to. It's fine. It's just, you know, I'll watch the next thing that's coming, or, it's fine. Like, it's going to be on Disney Plus soon anyway, and then I'll watch it there for free. And it's like, I don't know, man. It's rough. And that's to go full circle what I worry about with happening in the video game space. And I hope it doesn't, where it's just like, you know, this transition into cloud and ease of access and whatnot. I hope that there's, you know, not a focus on that and still a focus on just like telling a really, really solid story or whatever.
Sure.
You know, whatever the case is.
There is one good thing about this movie not being that great, is that it still clears the path for The Last of Us to be the best adaptation of the year. Because I thought this was its only real competition that I could think of.
Well, I agree with you, Nick, that I think it's still easily a front runner. However, I will say, don't count this one out. I think I'm just saying, at the Video Game Awards, when it like, there's audience voting, and while there's a rabid fan base for us people who love The Last of Us, I'm just saying, don't count it out.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. Why am I even bothering? But
well, I still think Last of Us will win, but
yeah, the one caveat to that is that at the Game Awards specifically, anyway, is that it is voted by journalists of all the different sites. So I think they have enough to give it to the better show.
True.
So,
yeah.
but,
we'll see.
The year's still starting, so I'm sure we'll get some more other front runners. So.
Sure.
But
let's wrap this up, Nick. I think we're probably what are we at this point? This has got to be the longest ever, right?
Hour and a half.
Really?
Yeah. We had some breaks and some technical difficulties, so that's
all right.
So
that's
it's gonna feel longer, but
okay.
All right.
I'm just kidding. We can talk about whatever you want. You want to just chat? We can talk about whatever.
Yeah. Sure.
Yeah. What are you wearing?
A hoodie.
You're wearing your safari hat, aren't you?
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Yeah,
actually, I like to record naked. Anyways, that is 6 things. So next week, what do we got to tease, John? Now that you're on your neon white hangover, what's next? Are you even gonna play video games?
Yeah, I wanted, actually it's funny you say that because I was thinking about like some movies I need to catch up on. But yeah, no, I really want to get back to Resident Evil 4. I was enjoying my time with that. So, I don't know if I'll get to it tonight. Might watch some Succession and get caught up on a movie or two. But probably get back into Resident Evil 4, try and get that beat here shortly so that I can, clear the path for... I was going to say clear the path for Tears of the Kingdom, but I really need to get back to Elden Ring and beat that first. So, just get back to that nebulous area I live in of constant juggling of different games.
Yeah.
But I've also started dabbling in Rogue Legacy 2 a little bit on the Switch, and that's just a really pleasant, fun thing to do when I'm laying in bed. So, don't know if I'll have anything to talk about when it comes to that, but Resident Evil 4 will be my main focus, I think.
Okay. All right. I did.
What about you? Because you didn't even mention. Oh, I think you're about to do it right now.
I did get Jedi Survivor. It is installed on my PlayStation. I have yet to launch it, but expect a full blowout of a game next week. I will be playing a lot of it. It is satisfying to have one of my most anticipated games of the year out. So this is kind of a gaming joy.
Are you a free boy this weekend?
I am. I have a lot of free time this weekend, so
nice.
We'll see how much time I can put into it. And I did beat Persona 5. I did platinum it, and this is where I get to put John on the spot again for when are we going to record that bonus episode, bud?
I don't know. It's got to be tomorrow or Sunday. Let's do it. I mean, so this weekend I just have some Sunday.
Parenting.
Yeah, it's Levi. Levi's got baseball both days, but I think they're both in the morning. So, I mean, if you have a free afternoon, I mean, Kylie has started to respect the podcast. She's like, hey, do you need me to do anything for you? Are you going to be good? I'm like, I don't know. We'll figure it out. So I think I could probably squeeze some time in if I can pull you away from Cal Kestis. Yeah.
Just let me know. So stay tuned this weekend. As long as not another heroin-addicted game comes in, heroin-esque game gets in John's purview. I don't know maybe he'll really want that Resident Evil 4 Platinum all of a sudden. And
I just couldn't stop thinking about it, Nick. I was just like, I have to go get this done. I have to do it. So glad it's over.
Okay. Well, yeah, I'm glad it's over too. It's nice to have you back. We're almost at intervention levels, so.
Yeah, just imagine if I was at work all week and I came back into work every day and you're like, what'd you do? You would have had to, I don't know. Yeah, you would have slapped me straight.
Yeah, I would have had to. All right, and then we will also next week be continuing our favorite games of all time. We're going to get into 40 through 31. That'll be exciting because, again, as we start narrowing it down, it's... John might have a black eye, or I might have some bruises because we might be fighting for our favorite games here coming up as we get closer.
I know you got a couple. I gotta talk some sense into you about Rock Band. I think we'll figure some stuff out. Figure some stuff out.
So expect all that next week. So John, it's your pick. What
Yeah.
song are we leaving the listeners on if they made it all the way through this episode?
Sure. This one is Experience, man. This is a great song that I kind of forgot about, but it's a long one. It's a little over 7 minutes, but please, you will not regret it. Yes, we're adding to this. Yeah, we're adding to this episode. This is from legendary video game composer Austin Wintory, and he did the soundtrack to Journey. The song specifically is Apotheosis. It's one of the songs that I think plays as you're crescendoing up the mountain, and everything is coming into focus, and it's all epic and beautiful and amazing, and you'll feel it in the music, So Apotheosis by Austin Wintory.
Fantastic. Yeah, let's get more games that we haven't played before.
Yeah.
New games, new composers. I think that should be our motto going forward.
Sure. Yep. Yeah. Neon White is officially retired from ever being discussed again on the podcast, and Lynn you can maybe give Lynn one more shout out. We'll see.
Oh yes, Lynn is gonna get one more shout out. I have my favorite song in the chamber for our bonus episode.
So you're about to immediately go back on what you just said. All right.
Well, it's the bonus episode. I can't escape playing a different
fair.
artist for our bonus episode. So
That's fair. Fair.
So Lynn will get one more play, but trust me, it is her best song you've heard yet.
Okay.
So
All right.
Stay tuned for the bonus episode, and stay tuned for us to be back next week with 6 more things. Bye, guys.
Bye.